I, 28, had been best friends with Sarah, 27, since we were in elementary school. We were inseparable, always hanging out together, sharing secrets, and supporting each other through thick and thin. Our friendship was the kind that people envied, and I truly believed that Sarah had my back no matter what. But all of that changed when I discovered that Sarah had stolen my identity and ruined my credit. It all started when I applied for a loan to buy a new car. I had been saving up for months, and I was excited to finally be able to afford a reliable vehicle. However, when the loan officer ran my credit report, he gave me a strange look and told me that my credit was in shambles. I was shocked. I had always been responsible with my finances, so I couldn't understand how this could have happened. I immediately called the credit bureau to request a copy of my credit report, and what I found was devastating. There were multiple credit cards and loans that I had never opened, all in my name. My credit score had plummeted, making it impossible for me to qualify for the car loan I desperately needed. I spent hours combing through the fraudulent accounts, trying to piece together what had happened. And then it hit me: Sarah had access to all of my personal information. She knew my social security number, my date of birth, and even my mother's maiden name. I couldn't believe that my best friend would do something so malicious. I confronted Sarah, and at first she denied everything. She claimed that it must have been a mistake, or that someone else must have stolen my identity. But when I showed her the credit report with the unauthorized accounts, her demeanor changed. She broke down in tears and admitted that she had indeed used my information to open credit cards and loans to fund her lavish lifestyle. I was livid. How could Sarah betray me like this? I had trusted her with everything, and she had stabbed me in the back without a second thought. I felt violated and hurt beyond words. I knew that I couldn't continue to be friends with someone who had caused me so much pain and financial distress. I made the difficult decision to cut Sarah out of my life completely. I changed all of my passwords, alerted the authorities about the identity theft, and started the long and arduous process of disputing the fraudulent accounts on my credit report. It was a nightmare that I never thought I would have to endure, all because of someone who I had considered a sister. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, I tried to move on from the betrayal. I focused on rebuilding my credit, working extra hours to pay off the debts that Sarah had accumulated in my name. It was a slow and painful process, but I was determined to not let her actions define me. But despite my best efforts, the wounds that Sarah had inflicted on me never fully healed. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal every time I thought about what she had done. And every time I saw her name pop up on social media or heard about her from mutual friends, the anger and resentment bubbled to the surface. I knew that I had made the right decision in cutting her out of my life, but a part of me still longed for closure. I wanted to confront her one last time, to hear her apologize and take responsibility for her actions. I wanted her to understand the pain and suffering she had caused me. And then one day, out of the blue, I received a message from Sarah. She wanted to meet up and talk, to explain her side of the story and ask for forgiveness. I was torn. Part of me wanted to hear her out to see if there was any shred of remorse in her words, but another part of me was afraid of reopening old wounds and risking my own emotional well-being. I weighed my options carefully, seeking advice from trusted friends and family members. In the end, I decided to meet with Sarah, despite the nagging voice in the back of my mind warning me against it. I needed closure, and I hoped that this meeting would finally give me the peace I so desperately craved. As I sat across from Sarah in a cozy cafe, the tension in the air was palpable. We exchanged awkward pleasantries, and then Sarah launched into her story. She tearfully explained that she had fallen on hard times, that she had been struggling financially and emotionally for months before she made the terrible decision to steal my identity. She begged for forgiveness, claiming that she never meant to hurt me and that she regretted her actions every single day. She promised to make amends, to pay back every cent she had stolen from me, and to seek help for her own issues. She looked so vulnerable and pitiful, and I could see the pain in her eyes. But as she spoke, my anger and resentment flared up once again. I couldn't believe that she thought a few tears and empty promises could make up for the devastation she had caused in my life. I knew that forgiveness was a powerful thing, but it was something that had to be earned, not granted freely. I listened to Sarah's pleas for forgiveness, and then I stood up from the table. I told her that I appreciated her honesty and her remorse, but that forgiveness was not something I could give lightly. I told her that she had to prove herself not just to me, but to herself as well. And then I walked away, leaving Sarah sitting alone in the cafe, her tears flowing freely. As I stepped out into the cool evening air, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had faced my betrayer head-on, and I had stood my ground. I knew that the road to healing would be long and difficult, but I was finally ready to take the first step. And so, dear Reddit, I ask you, am I the asshole for cutting my best friend out of my life after she stole my identity and ruined my credit update? Months passed since my meeting with Sarah, and I tried my best to move forward with my life. I focused on my work, my relationships with other friends, and the gradual process of repairing my credit. However, the memory of Sarah's betrayal lingered in the back of my mind, like a dark cloud that refused to dissipate. One day, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Sarah. In it, she apologized once again for her actions and enclosed a check for the full amount of the debts she had incurred in my name. She explained that she had gotten a job and was actively seeking therapy to address the underlying issues that led her to commit identity theft. I was taken aback by her gesture. It seemed that Sarah was genuinely trying to make amends and take responsibility for her actions. But despite her efforts, I couldn't bring myself to forgive her completely. The scars she had left on my life were too deep, and the trust between us irreparably shattered. Conclusion. In the end, I know that cutting Sarah out of my life was the right decision for my own well-being. Her betrayal had caused irreparable damage to our friendship, and the wounds she inflicted on me may never fully heal. While I appreciate her attempts at redemption, forgiveness cannot be forced or rushed. I have come to terms with the fact that Sarah's actions have permanently altered the course of our friendship. The trust that was once the foundation of our relationship has been shattered beyond repair, leaving both of us on opposite sides of a divide that may never be bridged. So, dear Reddit, am I the asshole for cutting my best friend out of my life after she stole my identity and ruined my credit? In my heart, I know that I had to protect myself from further harm and betrayal. And while I may never fully understand Sarah's motivations or forgive her completely, I can confidently say that I made the best decision for myself in a difficult situation.